So if this is happening to you, it probably means that the strings just can't keep the tension in them to reach those notes anymore. They're kind of breaking down. That's one of the ways you can tell. Sometimes this won't happen right away when you're tuning up. Sometimes it'll take a verse or a chorus until the next verse, and then your guitar's starting to go out on stage. Really don't want that happening. Here's another few ways that you can tell your strings might need a change. So here's my 000 series Martin. You know, I keep it nice and clean. But I haven't pulled this out since the last gig I had. I played for about 3 hours. And the strings need a changing. You see that? That's nasty. That's kind of some wear there. It's starting to peel those layers off the string. On this G, you can start to see where it's worn right at the fret. And yeah, we really don't want that. That's not great for your fingers, and that's just going to peel away even more, and then we're going to be left with nothing. And you can even see the discoloration in the low E in some places, like right there. A little bit further down. Yeah, see that spot? Yeah, that's some of those signs right there. Before we take the strings off, put new ones on, don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. Alright, let's put some new strings on this puppy. I like these earthwound ones. They're actually Ernie Ball. No way is this an endorsement or anything. I just think they're nice cheap strings. I used to use the Martin SPs for a while. I don't know about spending $22 on strings that last longer. Do they? I don't know. This guitar, the strings last pretty long. I keep it in its case. I wipe down the strings after each playing, and that's kind of my string etiquette when I'm having a gig. So some nice to haves when you're changing guitar strings. It's a nice soft flat surface, something that's not going to scratch the bottom of your guitar when it's laying on it. Sometimes I will just change the guitar strings on my lap. Totally fine. It's nice to have a cloth or a rag. You can wipe away some of that dust. A pair of wire cutters is important. We're going to trim the top of the new strings once they're on there so that they're not poking out and all over the place. This is also a 2-in-1 tool. It's got a pair of needle nose pliers on the top. I'm going to use those on the bridge pins once we've loosened the strings and the tension's out of this to take those bridge pins out. Now, a lot of people would say, you know, the windy, spinny tool is a good one to have. That has a little tool on there. I usually break those or I lose them. Everything costs money. We got thumb, we got fingers. I just loosen these tuning pegs by hand. It takes a little while longer, but it doesn't really bother me. All right, it's time to loosen these strings. How about a little string changing music? So, you will be able to loosen the strings to a certain point where you can just go like this, and they'll just pop right off like that. Oh, I gotta loosen this one just a little bit, a little more, and then look at that. It'll just come up and around. There we go. And just clean it up as you go. So I will also go through and I'll just make sure that all the tension with these guys are feeling pretty good. I don't do that every time. I usually do that twice a year, maybe once in the fall and once in the spring. That's this little, well, not the best lighting right here, but, and then I will tighten these ones as well sometimes. But not every time. Okie dokie. So now that we have that headstock all prepared, and all the tensions out of the strings, right? Then we can pull these bridge pins out. Now again, you just want to be really careful not to damage the wood. I'm doing this one-handed. You might want to do this two-handed, but I'm not touching the wood. I'm just on the bridge pins. Pop. Then I usually try to remember, I will line up the bridge pins on a table from 6 to 1 or 1 to 6. And then they go back in their respective holes. The high E string, string 1 going in. You're going to use this side. I also like to line up that ridge. Do you see that ridge there? I put that at the front of the guitar. So that's going to be doing a 180 and then just going in right there. Bring that around for you here. So you see that ridge at the front? That's nice and locked up with that first string there, that high E. Okay, and here's a nice close-up view of how I string this around the headstock. We're going to line it up first with our nut. We're going to go around once from the top, always from the top and in and out, and then go through the hole and keep the string at the top. All the excess string is below it. And we're just going to give it a good pull through. We're going to leave a little slack, which is totally fine, because we're just going to keep winding this, and that the top part of the string stays on the top, and just keep that on the bottom. And it's just going to go around and around. So there's one more thing that I didn't put in this video that I do sometimes. You'll have to go to lastguitarexperience.com to check out the full version of this acoustic guitar restring to find out what I do between taking the guitar strings off, and putting the guitar strings back on. It's something that I do sometimes. I don't do it all the time. Okay, I'm going to do the B string really fast too here. Okay, I just did the bridge pin in my B string. I'm bringing my B string up. I like to go around once. You don't even have to. You can go straight through the hole. But I like to go around once and then through the hole, keeping all that extra string, that loop that we just did on the bottom underneath. And we're just going to pull that tight. You can pull it from both ends of the string as well. There's a little excess, and that's fine because we're going to tighten that. You want a little excess because we're going to be tightening this, and it's going to go around once or twice still. You want to have about 2 to 3 loops on your string. People argue about that. They even make locking tuners and everything, right? These are really standard tuners. And there we go. You can hear the string going up in pitch right there as I'm tightening. So a lot of people, when they're changing strings, they will actually put in all the strings first into the bridge. And again, if we have our bridge pins, you line this up, the divot with the front of the string, and it will kind of keep the string positioned in the guitar like that. So there you go. And this way it's kind of nice because then you can just do all the strings at the same time. I wanted to demonstrate one by one a few strings, but yeah, usually I do it this way. And then boom, we just go and we do the rest of the strings. Just like that. If you change a lot of strings like me, it really doesn't take that long to change your own strings. It takes about 10 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes, and you got it. I hope this helps out a lot. I'm just about ready for my gig. I'm going to play this guitar for about an hour and a half tonight. That should take out some of that weird excess brilliance or shine from these strings. It sounds a little bit too bright. Doesn't sound good, in my opinion, anyways. So I will always give this guy a tune before I snip these strings. You can see I have a nice amount of loops on these. Remember, if you don't have enough excess, just pull a little bit through and then tighten it up, and that will give you enough to do 2 or 3 loops. There's lots of people who just like to do 1 loop. I like to do 2 or 3. So you can see I have a nice loops on each of these. And now for my string cut, I don't cut like super low. I will leave, you know, that's fine for me, whatever. And then I just kind of angle that. Be careful not to poke yourself. I'll just angle that into the guitar a little bit so that I'm not poking myself. There you go. Cool. Let's do one more for you here. I'll do that low E. Close that like that. Maybe a little lower. I'm doing this one with one hand. Okay. And there you go. Not too low. Again, if you wanted to go a little lower, you could. Thank you for watching. I hope that video helps you change your acoustic strings on your guitar just a little easier with some of the tips I've given you. Remember, you can watch a full video of this at lastguitarexperience.com with that part in the middle that I left out in between when I take off my strings and when I put them back on. It's just something I do sometimes, so you can check that out at lastguitarexperience.com. Thank you so much. Please subscribe, so I'll see you next time. It's time for me to play a couple of tunes on this guitar. When you first put on strings on the guitar, the strings still have some tension that needs to come out, and then they'll start staying in tune every song when you're playing. So I hope that helps, and I'll see you next time.